Kitco News special coverage of Paris Blockchain Week Summit is brought to you by Okra, permissioned DeFi composable index and strategy execution platform.
We're here with Miguel de Sousa. He is a community lead at Lisk. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
We're here at the Paris Blockchain Summit. Huge crowd, a buzz with energy. Now, a lot of the problems that people have, they've told me, was that it's hard to buy and sell cryptocurrencies because the user interface in applications is difficult to use, they say. It's difficult for the user, it's difficult for the developer. Is that a problem that you see right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a couple of years ago, I actually went to this conference in Lisbon, Portugal, and the conference was called DeFi for Your Grandmother. And the whole concept, so it really resonated with me because this guy that I don't remember the name, but he said something like, we should aim to create applications that users don't even know it's in blockchain. They should just benefit from it, right? And so he gave the example of an email. Like we know we send the email today from here to Japan, and we just wanted to get it there, right? We want the email to arrive in Japan, and we know it's going to happen, but we don't care about the technological processes that go into that. So with blockchain, I think there still needs to be some work done in that regard, so to kind of like make seamless experiences while people can still benefit from the technology without even knowing they're using the technology. So that's what I would say for that as well.
And what are some of the solutions to making the user interface more friendly for the average retail client?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that in the end of the day, like a few years back, actually there were no non-coding jobs. So it was mostly like development and coding and technical jobs. Today you see like a multitude of jobs, like designing as well, all kinds of jobs. And I think to that, I would say that there's a big focus now on UX and UI and designing. And a lot of focus are being put into that for development as well, for these applications. So again, like I said in the beginning, so that users can experience these applications without even knowing that it's blockchain, just benefiting from the benefits.
And the developer side, what can be done for the developer side, making developers' lives a little bit easier?
Yeah, that's a good one. To be honest with you, learning curves to learn a new programming language that wasn't there 10 years ago.
Like which ones, for example?
Like Solidity, Rust, stuff like that. So that can be the learning curve can be steep.
Why are we using new programming languages for blockchain?
I mean, it makes sense when you're developing a smart contract, for instance. That's just the way they were built. They couldn't think it otherwise. Whereas, for instance, for Lisk, where I work, it's our SDK is super. It's not only like super friendly and intuitive, but you can actually build whatever you want just knowing JavaScript and TypeScript, which is the most popular programming language.
Yeah, and so tell us about Lisk and how that how your mission profile fits in with making the user experience better.
Yeah, I think it's not the mission that sets us apart. Like I feel like all the projects, this is something I'm very passionate about as well. I feel like all the projects are in it for the same thing, which is like mainstream adoption, accessibility, all of that. But I think it's how we approach that problem. Like for us at Lisk, we really focus on accessibility through our SDK, which is the toolkit that we have for developers to build blockchain applications, which are different than dApps, for instance, just knowing JavaScript and TypeScript. So this removes the learning curve they would have to go over when learning other programming languages.
What's your personal background? Are you a programmer?
No, I'm not actually. I am. I've done a bit of everything, but before this, I was a content manager for a football club, Benfica.
Why did you switch into the crypto side?
Because I was super interested always in esports. And I thought at the time that both esports and crypto were both themes that people were not really sold about. Like, how can you explain to someone, I was very passionate about this, explaining to someone how esports are actually sports. Like, how can playing video games can be a sport?
And it's huge. Video games are bigger than movies and music combined in terms of revenue. Yeah,
that's also super good. Like to bridge the gap, I think gaming, in this case, GameFi, will actually help tremendously to bridge the gap for accessibility as well.
What kind of games do you play?
I play MOBAs, so that would be League of Legends, all of that, a bit of that, but not anymore. No, I don't have much.
I wonder when we can see League of Legends use cryptocurrencies as an in-game currency.
There's already a few options actually, but for me the biggest problem there is that
I don't want to see a new game have a native token. I want to see a big established game like World of Warcraft. I don't know if you play World of Warcraft. I want to see WoW use a token. I want to see League of Legends use a token. Can we start to see that kind of partnership with established game companies, studios?
Yeah, one thing I would say is that actually most of the projects today focusing on GameFi are focusing rather on blockchain aspects rather than the game. But why would I, if I'm a video game enthusiast, why would I play a game that is not very fun to play just because there's blockchain, right?
That's right.
And I think so. That's one part of things is that you actually need. So I think the solution might be for gaming studios already established to reach out to then developers and people that understand how to integrate blockchain properly in places that need blockchain.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not saying the new games coming out are not fun. I'm not saying Axie Infinity is not fun. I'm just saying the games with the biggest player base right now, Diablo, right, World of Warcraft, StarCraft. How can Blizzard? Well, Blizzard just got bought out by Microsoft, but how can the established game studios work with the crypto companies to integrate both worlds? Because you have huge user base in these games already, right?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think we can see that potentially in the future once most projects establish a level of interoperability between each other, right? And once that is in place, I think you would see things like exchanging assets, like a sword from one game to the other game, completely different games, and I think that can actually be a thing.
Okay. Interoperability is a buzzword I'm hearing a lot at the conference. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's pretty much communicating between different side chains, and then the side chains communicating to the main chain. So it's all about communication between different blockchains. Whereas before you would have them as sole identities separate from each other. And you can imagine now, for instance, you have marketplaces for NFTs on Ethereum. You have marketplaces for Solana, you have marketplace for all these other projects, for Lisk as well. But what if you can have an NFT in one blockchain, and now I'm sending to you in a different blockchain, in your BNB blockchain or whatever. So it's kind of this communication between chains. You could think of it, interoperability, now it's a bit more understood, but I would consider like an interconnection. I think that makes it a lot easier for people to understand.
You've been in the industry for how long now?
I've been interested since 2014,
Wow,
and I've been investing since then.
Early adopter.
Yes.
Okay.
In 2015, I began Cryptocurrency podcast, actually, in Portuguese, and that was super fun for me. At the time, I felt like it was not even about building a community like today. You see a lot, or stats or anything like that. It was more like, for me, it forced me to learn something new every single day to kind of present in that episode. So that was my way to get involved, which I think is key.
Okay. What were some of the biggest developments and trends in cryptocurrencies that you've seen so far? And second part, that you are looking forward to seeing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So I still went through this crazy period of 2017-18 where every single altcoin exploded, and most projects, were dead after that. And then, so I definitely saw that and felt that. And after that, I would say now NFTs for a couple of years already.
Are NFTs the next altcoins pre-2018? You
That's
know what
a
I
difficult
mean?
one. Yeah, definitely. That's a difficult one, but I would say there must be some sort of level of correction, which is happening actually at the moment. A lot of projects are actually going down, and you would see that projects, not every single project will survive.
Investing in the altcoin space before 2017, and you lived through that, you've survived that. Has that changed the way you look at the altcoin space now?
It's a great question. Totally, yeah. I would definitely look for things that, in the end of the day, this is not really gambling, where I felt like that was the case in 2017. You could pretty much bet, you could put $100 in the first 10 coins and you probably get a profit from that. And I think today you must be a bit more conservative, even though this is not really the most familiar word and friendly word for the industry.
Yeah.
A bit more conservative, and look at what you believe and projects that really make sense to you. Projects that actually contribute to both of these missions, which are adoption and accessibility.
How do you pick altcoins? What do you look for?
From my experience, my personal experience, for instance, I have to speak of Lisk because I do believe in the mission. Even before starting working for Lisk, I actually applied for Lisk myself, so I wasn't looking for any job at the time. I looked for Lisk and I thought, how can I contribute to the project? This is how it started for me. And I look for projects that actually, again, bridge the gap for the things that matter the most. Accessibility and mainstream adoption.
Can you name one or two things that you like right now?
About Lisk?
Well, no, sorry, one or two projects or cryptos that you like right now?
Okay. I've always had a look at Icon, ICX. So that's also working on interoperability. I would have to name for sure Lisk. Then again, all of Lisk's perceived competitors are working for the same thing. So like I said before, the mission is the same. We're just doing it differently. And if you think of an interoperable world, this is going to be a world where all the projects can actually contribute. Doesn't mean that one will rule them all, like it was a previous belief. Like all of them will contribute with their own solution. So I would say interoperability would be a topic that I would look into when searching for projects.
Yeah, definitely something to dig into a little bit deeper. Thank you so much, Miguel.
Thank you. It's great.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. I'm David Lin.
Kitco News special coverage of Paris Blockchain Week Summit is brought to you by Okra, permissioned DeFi composable index and strategy execution platform.